Okay, welcome back. Brand research. Why brand research is imperative if you are wanting to build a stronger brand, grow your business, increase brand awareness, and continue to scale. So, brand research for us here at Big Red Jelly is chapter 2 of our brand proven process. You can click in our YouTube channel and find brand discovery, which is chapter 1. And just to kind of refresh, the purpose of brand discovery is all about you, right? It's your vision. It's very subjective. It's your opinions. It's your thoughts, desires, et cetera, et cetera. But if you just use brand discovery and you skip the research phase, which is critical, you're only going to get one side of the story, right? So it's important to pair your discovery notes and outcomes and then match those across to objective brand research results. That's what's going to allow you to come up with a comprehensive brand strategy that's going to allow you to stand out from the crowd, beat your competitors, and attract more of your ideal customer. So let's dive into brand research and some really practical steps that you can do on your own, or if you're working with an agency or a freelancer or you have an in-house marketing team, how to conduct a successful brand research chapter. I'm going to break it down to 3 points, okay? So point number 1, and this is really important because a lot of companies will skip this first step in brand research, is a brand audit, right? So when I ask a client or business owner, hey, let's do some research, the temptation is to jump right into just researching, right? I'll do some customer research, maybe I'll do competitor research, but we first have to understand, well, what are the questions that we should be asking, right? What is the problem that we're trying to solve? And in my opinion and in my experience, conducting a thorough audit is going to help you understand which questions you should be looking for answers for. So a brand audit should do a few things, right? A brand audit should go through all of your current branding, your brand assets, your creative, your brand messaging, and say, what do we have? What are we lacking? And what do we have that's subpar, right? Those 3 categories. So, for example, you can glimpse at our brand proven process and look at each chapter and attack each chapter and say, what are we missing? What do we have in this chapter? And what do we have but needs to be improved? So, let me give you a specific example, right? Let's assume that you're a B2B company and you're doing your brand audit and you're thinking about your brand visual identity, right? So I'm going to look at my company. I'm going to look into you might have a folder of brand assets. You probably have a bunch of scattered folders, and I understand, I sympathize with that. But you first want to look at, okay, well, let's look at our visual identity. Do we have a logo? Okay, we have a logo, but we're missing variations of our logo, right? We don't have light on dark, dark on light, stacked, horizontal, a favicon, just the icon that goes up in the tab in Google Chrome, little things like that, right? We have colors in our logo, but those haven't been clearly identified with hex codes and how those should play with each other. And that's just the logo, right? So you might say, well, I'm happy with my logo, but I'm missing a lot of these critical elements that my marketing team and my agency that I work with really need to feel empowered to use and activate and apply my logo while following my brand guidelines, right? Then you can keep going through these brand visual identity assets. Like, for example, do you have a brand style guide, right? Do you have social media guidelines? Do you have website guidelines? Do you have brand messaging guidelines? And you can start to put X's or check marks according to what you have or what you don't have. So don't skip the brand audit phase. We do have a brand audit checklist, which we will link in the description. And you can click on that and see and ask yourself again, do I have these things? Do I not? Right? So conduct a thorough brand audit first, and that will give clarity to, okay, I think I have a better idea of what I should be researching so that I can fill these gaps. So now let's move on to step number 2, which is the research itself, right? So there's the deliverable research, but that goes into the brand chapter of brand research. So research itself, I like to explain it like this. So when we do research for a client, and you can ask yourself these same questions, the first thing to research above all else is your customer. Okay. Sometimes one of the temptations and one of the mistakes I see all too often is we will start to research our industry or our competitors first. And that will lead to very dangerous biases where you start to cater your strategy too closely to your competitors. And the goal is to be different, right? The goal is to be different from your competitors. We'll talk about competitors in a second, but we don't want to start with competitors. Start with your customer. So, some critical questions to be asking is first, above all, is who is my ideal customer, right? I could go down a whole rabbit hole here. There's probably a different video, but to answer that question, who is my ideal customer? Go look at your data. So go read your reviews, go talk to your sales team, dive into your CRM, and find that 20% of your customer base that is responsible for 80% of your revenue, right? The Pareto principle. You can do the opposite too, right? What's the 20% of your customer base that's responsible for 80% of your headaches, right? We all know who those are. So you should be finding who is that tribe within your tribe. These are the customers that keep coming back for more business. They refer other customers to your brand. They leave positive reviews. They are long term customers. They often pay a premium price. They're brand advocates. That's your tribe, right? So that's who your ideal customer is. Then you can double click into that and do some more research. And the number one thing here is, and I say this over and over and over again for small to mid-sized business owners, pick up the phone and do not be afraid to talk to your customers. We get lost in I think, a little bit of an overcrowded analytical world, right? Google Analytics, we're looking at our website data, our CRM, we see numbers. We see black and white numbers, which is important. But when was the last time you picked up the phone or took one of these ideal customers out to lunch and just picked their brain, right? Why did you choose my company over the other options? What did you enjoy the most? What did you not enjoy? What did you value? What would you like to see more of? What would you like to see less of? If we could change anything on our side, what would it be? And I promise you that they will say things that are different than what you expect, right? I'll work with so many small business owners and they think that their customers love them because of ABC. When in reality, and they go talk to their customers, it's actually CBA in a different order, right? So that will allow you to then cater your messaging and your brand positioning more poignantly for what they value over what you value. And it's all about the customer. So again, coming back to what you should be researching, customer, 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 customer is step number one. Step number two in research is the field in which you play, right? So what's the terrain? That's your market, that's your industry. That's imperative for an agency or a freelancer or your in-house team if they're working with you. Let's again assume that you are in the B2B consulting industry. It's super important that whoever's working on your brand or in the creative understands the industry, right? Do they understand the jargon that's used in your industry? Do they understand how the economy is affecting your industry? Do they understand what the opportunities are in the industry? So you have to understand the terrain. Okay, so step one, customer. Step two is the terrain. Then step three is who are the other players in your terrain? That's your competitors, right? And that can be helpful. You can see what's working for them. You can see what's not working for them. If there's a gorilla in your industry, right, an A player, someone who owns a lot of market share in your vertical, you don't want to go head to head with that per se, right? I'll say this to e-commerce brands, for example. You can try to compete with Amazon when it comes to efficiency and shipping, but you're going to lose that battle 10 times out of 10. Therefore, why not lean into things that are different from Amazon that make you unique as an e-commerce brand? For example, customization, right? Personalized support, maybe micro influencer marketing, things that Jeff Bezos isn't doing on the daily, right? So that's number three is who are the players and competitors and do research there. Finally, number four, and this one is the most forgotten, is now that we know who your ideal customer is, you've researched that, you've researched your terrain, which is your industry or your market, and you've researched the major players in the terrain, the final aspect to research is, where is this arena trending, right? So what is going to happen to this industry or vertical and my competitors in the next 5, 10, 20 years? That's often forgotten because we want to develop a lasting brand, right? That grows better, faster, and further. So, how can you do that? There's a few practical suggestions I might have. Dive into Google Trends. It's a free tool. You can see what's trending. Interview your employees and your customers and your leadership, and just ask yourself those questions. Where do you see your product or service 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Are you chasing a short term trend? Right? Are you positioned right now in a way that's going to be detrimental to future growth? Are you asking questions related to, how is AI going to influence my brand? How is globalization going to influence my brand? How is the future economy going to influence my brand? So you should be researching where this entire arena is trending. And you can go back through those three things, right? So how will my customers change over the next 10 years? Right? Are they going to get older? Am I going to start selling to a younger generation, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, as they move into the buyer majority? How are my competitors trending? What are they doing or innovating? And then where is my industry going? Right? So that is research. If you can cover those four bases, who is my ideal customer, and talk to your ideal customer, interview them, take them out to lunch, ask them questions, you should be part of that tribe. Number two is the players in the arena, your competitors. And then number three is, where is the arena going, right? Well, I skipped number three is the arena. And then number four is, where is the arena growing, i.e. trends, right, in the long term. Okay, finally, to wrap up brand research, kind of related to what I already mentioned, is interviews, interviews, interviews. So when we do research, we will interview three kind of categories here. Number one is, we'll like to interview or talk to, when we do research, leadership. So key stakeholders, right? Talk to leadership. It's kind of a mini discovery again, but again, a little bit more objective. We want to interview leadership, founders, executives. Number two is interview the employees, right? So talk to your employees, talk to those people that are on the front lines. One of my favorite things to do when I do brand research for an organization is talk to their salespeople and their customer support reps. These are the individuals that are hearing the most feedback more frequently than the CEO could ever dream. They're hearing the problems, the challenges that the customers are bringing each and every day. So talk to your sales team and customer support team, right? And then finally, interview the customer, right? So we will do customer surveys. Don't just do surveys. Reach out to your customers, identify who that 20% is of your tribe, and reach out to them and have interviews, calls, lunches, et cetera, et cetera. If you bring all these things together, I promise you, you'll have a really clear picture of, here's where my brand is now, here's where I want it to be, and now I see where the gaps are. And so with a successful brand research chapter complete, we can pair that with our notes from a successful brand discovery, and you're now ready to move into what we call the guiding idea, which is all about how to position your brand and therefore putting together the strategy. Last thing I'll say, notice how in the research, I'm not making any conclusions yet. It's all about just asking the right questions, doing your homework. Once that's done, then you can pair it with brand discovery and say A plus B equals C, and C is the brand strategy and positioning, which we'll talk about next time. Thank you for joining me. Josh Weber here, Big Red Jelly. Thank you.